what's up? Travel Chronicles, chapter 117-ish, somewhere around there. Today, just talk about some fallout from July 4th weekend there, early in the week. The Georgia Guidestones were attacked. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. Somebody set off some type of explosive device next to one of the stones and blew it up. And I had never heard of the Guidestones before this happened, and they're kind of interesting. Let me say were interesting, because after they blew up one of them, because of safety reasons, they had to knock down all of them, right? And if you look it up, the stones themselves, what they were calling them was the American Stonehenge, right? Because whoever put it out there or had it designed had some very intent, creative reasons for doing it, I guess. The guy's name, and it was a pseudonym, it was R.C. Christian. And you don't know, and the bad thing is like, he said he was doing it for a group of people, right? And their belief in God, whatever that is. So it's kind of like veiled in secrecy. And some people took this stone as like, it's a series of, I believe, 6 stones. You have 4 stones kind of in a paddle wheel alignment, and then there's one on top, and then one like directly in the middle. It's a little smaller, a little narrower. So you got one laying on top, and then you got the 4 paddle wheels, kind of laying out in all the directions, and then the one in the middle. And the one in the middle has like some holes drilled in it so that you could observe the solstice or something, or did something whenever it got to the solstice or the equinoxes. It's a really thoughtful design, what it was put in there for, but people don't understand the motivation for it or anything. And then on top of it, he put 10 rules to live by, and the idea was, this was made in the late 70s. I think it was commissioned or open to the public or whatever. They did their public unveiling on like the equinox in 1980, March 1980, right around, maybe like the day after. Maybe he had the equinox to himself, and then they did the public unveiling the next day. Whatever it is, you put these 10 rules to live by it, and it was, I think, designed for a nuclear apocalypse. Okay, everybody dies. This thing can work not only as some giant set of rocks, but also a calendar, a clock, and you can tell some celestial movements, where you're at on the timeline based on where the location of the moon is. So, like I said, it's kind of thoughtful, the design of it when you think about it. The intent, though, is still veiled in secrecy. Nobody knows 100% why somebody would build a thing full of 6 granite blocks out in the middle of nowhere in Georgia. And it literally is in the middle of nowhere, right? This thing gets like 20,000 visitors a year, which is this is a pretty decent number, especially since there's like zero marketing, right? And it's not trying to draw people to it. But some people have taken real offense to this. I'm not even sure how many people are in Georgia. That would take a while just to get through the population of Georgia. 200,000 would take 10 years, so 2 million would be 100 years. It's going to take a while. Like, people ain't coming from all over the world to look at this thing. Let's put it that way. Even though what's inscribed on one of the sides, it's inscribed on all 8 sides in 8 different languages. And then in the top, there's like hieroglyphs and some other stuff. And it's all in English, like off to the side of what the stuff means. But somebody took it as a satanic something. Some type of idol thing, right? And it's like, okay, you've got data points for 40 years. This thing's been up for 40 years. You get 20,000 people a year there. Most people have never even heard of this thing. And I'm not sure the amount of money that was spent, but I can't imagine it was cheap to get these 6 giant things. And the way the story goes is that the guy who was making it, they were kind of busy at the time, and this guy wanted, this massive amount of granite, these large blocks and stuff. So the guy wrote a quote that was just like outrageous, I guess, for the time. And I can't imagine what that would be. A couple 100,000, $1 million, I don't know. But whatever it was, the guy's like, okay, I'll pay it. Put them up. So it's like, all right, this is an insane amount of money. Okay, let's do it. Right, and that has some, I don't know what the implication is there, but it's odd, right? You haven't promoted it, you haven't brought people there to look at it, like this is a message from God. Like, you're not saying that you're a prophet or anything, but people have taken upon themselves to call this thing demonic, Satan worshiping columns or whatever. And one of the people who was running for governor last year actually said that her first act would have been to tear the thing down. And I don't know if it's on public property. I think they gave the property back to the family. Like, the guy bought 5 acres or something to put it on. If there's nothing around it, and his explicit instructions were, no gift shops, no trinkets, nothing around this thing. It's like, it's just going to be it by itself. And I think the town took it upon itself to build some type of granite museum, so they could capitalize on it a little bit. Like, you got a town of 4,000 people. You get 20,000 visitors a year just because of some big rocks out in the field. Okay, maybe they'll come in town and look at the museum too. But it's hard for me to make the leap that this is some type of satanic, right? And I can get where, okay, this is blasphemous because you built these stone tablets and you put your 10 rules on it, your 10 commandments, if you will, of how people should live, going forward. And one of the most odd ones was keep the population under 500 million people. Like, okay, and I can understand, right? Because you're talking about building back after a nuclear apocalypse, and somehow the human population has grown to, over 8 billion people right now. You're probably going to get to 10 or 11 billion. But there are signs that human society has kind of reached its peak of what it can do, what it can output. And as the society advances, people are less inclined to actually have children. I don't know if it's just an odd thing where we've, kind of looked at our environment and said, okay, this is enough. Either cancel yourself out, or, you just take it on yourself to not have any kids. You just, do your own thing. Which is, it's kind of dangerous because once you get older, you're going going to have problems. You're going to need taken care of and stuff. And, you know, who's going to do that? You know, if you're not at least a little self-sufficient. You know, I think my mom, she's going to be 93. And she's sort of living by herself. I mean, she has like a little apartment and, you know, she's making it, but she's kind of eking it out right now. You know what I mean? It's, you know, yesterday, 2 days ago, I went to see her, and then yesterday I went to see her, and she's like, how come you didn't come see me? I was like, I was here, you know, 2 days ago, or, you know, last night. I was here last night. And she's like, no, you weren't. And then I got into an argument with her. Well, not really an argument with her. I was like trying to explain to her how I was there. And, you know, just, she couldn't make the connection. She didn't realize it was me. So, that's why I say she's eking it out. But, you know, you're going to have people like that are eking it out, and they're not going to get the visits, and they're not going to have people taking care of them, and, you know, they're eventually going to become a ward of the state, and somebody's going to have to take care of them, right? And people are going to have to realize when they can be on their own, when they can't be on their own. And that's going to be a hard thing for people to realize, you know, especially if they don't have that feedback from, you know, from their kids and, you know, people they care about. So that's my thought on that there. You know, that I think human population's probably pretty well peaked. Maybe a little bit further, but you know, there's enough signs and there's enough people that are not reproducing like rabbits that, and resources, right? There's limited amounts of resources. I can go on that for a while, but back to the stones here. You know, the rules that you put in there, I can see where people could take that as blaspheming and, okay, this is, you know, maybe not on par with what God would want, but by the same token, is it really like against God? Is this, you know, obviously he got knocked down, but he's just knocked down from stupidity. You know, I don't think anybody was putting it out there for anybody to worship. You know, you get 20,000 people a year total. That's not that much. I'm trying to think. You know, what does that math even look like? It's a couple hundred people a day, I guess. It's not insane. It's not even 1,000 people a day, right? Because that would be like 36,000. 360,000. Yeah, I mean, this is a ridiculously small amount of people. But somebody has it in their mind, and you're talking about somebody running for governor of a state that has, you know, multi-million people in it, and we need to tear down this little thing over here that almost nobody goes to, and probably half the people in the state don't even know about. You know, I think there are other things that are more pressing if you want to really go after Satan, right? Like these little handheld devices, you know, that kind of distract you, take up your time. Like those are more satanic devices than somebody that built granite blocks out in the field to withstand a nuclear engagement. And somebody went and blew them up. Like, I don't know what they used. But you really need to find the motivation of this person. Was it because they blew it up because they thought it was satanic, or did they blow it up just because they're an idiot wanting to destroy something? It's like, you know, somebody had some thoughtful design in this, you know, where the moon is, right? Because it like demarks the high elevation of the moon and the low elevation of the moon in the sky. And that takes like 18.6 years, you know, to get from high to low. And how it was figured, it has that. When the sun comes over at noon, you're actually able to look at it and tell what day it is based on where the noon sun is hitting. And there were things for the equinox. I mean, it's just, like I said, like for having, you know, 6 giant rocks somewhere. Like you could actually do some stuff with this thing. But people blew it up, and I just wonder what the motivation was. It just random act of violence? I mean, obviously it was not random. It was a thought out, like, I'm going to hit this specific gosh, I can't even think of words this morning. I'm a little tired. But I want to say establishment. It's not an establishment. Just this particular monument, I guess, if you want to even call it that. I mean, privately funded. Yeah, it's privately funded. It's not even a government thing, right? And it's like, okay, I'm just gonna knock this sucker down. Or were they doing it because they thought they were fighting Satan? I want to know what the motivation is for that person that thought that they had to do this or wanted to do this, and what kind of idiot they are. Like, what kind of special idiot are you? Are you an idiot that just does violence against stuff that you could never ever come up with on your own, or are you some, for lack of a better term, a religious nut that goes out there thinking everything's Satan and you got to knock it all down? It's just amazing the kind of people that are out there in the world, and that's the thing. It's like you can't just tell what kind of idiot this person was, but they're an idiot. Like, that. And then you got the guy that shot people up in the parade in Highland Park. You look around and you're just like, what is going on? Are there just that many extra people that we just have these outliers of stupidity that are causing a lot of problems for other people? It's it's menacing, right? Somebody's blowing up stuff, somebody's shooting people. And it's like, what was this guy doing? What was he doing? He just wanted to shoot people up? I mean, clearly you can't go lock up people, right? And that was one of the things I think somebody says, like, somebody who hasn't had any prior issues, but this guy had, the police called to his house because he was going to stab everybody or something. And then, his parents had to sign off on a thing for him to get a gun, which, I'm thinking, Lincoln, well, he was going to stab everybody. I guess we could get him a gun, and that way he could just shoot everybody. It would be faster. But just a lot of crazy stuff going on. That's not helpful to anybody or anything. Do I think the stones were satanic? No, I don't. If it was, like, that was just a horrible ploy by Satan to put something out in the middle of a field to get people to come there. But by the same token, like, I think it should have been more articulated on what the intentions were, what the goal was here. I think there's some things you can infer about it, like, okay, it's meant to withstand some type of nuclear holocaust. Obviously, with tensions, how they were in the late 70s, like, that was a real possibility. And that's what somebody was going for, was trying to help society in the future and, be nice to the planet and all that. I don't see where it was really rooted in like, godly type stuff, like biblical stuff. But, I don't think it was, like, evil intentioned either. Maybe I just don't see it. Maybe that guy, just wasted a crap load of money. But, it had some neat things in the design. And, and that's the other thing. When you think about the design of that stuff, if you believe in God, the creator of heaven and earth, right, the universe and everything in it, then, it's kind of amazing if you go out in these open waters in the oceans or the large seas and things, and, and there's nothing around you. There's no landmarks. you can use the stuff in the sky to actually navigate your way around, because of its position. It doesn't change. And think about Jesus or the apostles in those early missions. They were probably using the moon and stars for navigation. So I don't think it's some pagan druid ritualistic type thing that you can't look at the stars and understand where the stars are. We draw maps. Should we not be using maps? Is that satanic? If you're gonna worship God and He did everything, you gotta appreciate everything. You know what I mean? You gotta appreciate it. You gotta appreciate nature. You do have to appreciate how things work on this planet. You have to appreciate how things are laid out in the sky. That's my thought. But that's all I got for today. Be careful. Be COVID free. I'm trying to blow anything up. Later.